Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening. It's Friday, January 8th. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Mounting pressure to resign or be impeached, and now the president's favorite platform is pulling the plug. Twitter has banned him permanently. The late development comes as House Democrats take aim and names to impeach him for a second time. Whitney Wild has more from Washington.
Our team here in Washington has learned that the president has no intention of resigning. That's pushing House Democrats to more strongly consider articles of impeachment. Those could be brought forth by next week. House Democrats, furious at President Trump for the violence on Capitol Hill, are talking about impeachment.
Donald Trump needs to be removed from office, and we are going to proceed with every tool that we have to make sure that that happens to protect our democracy.
The process would be much different than President Trump's first impeachment. In 2019, congressional committees held long investigations and drawn-out hearings. This time, the clock is ticking.
We can use procedural tools to get articles of impeachment to the floor for a House vote quickly.
Then a simple majority is all that is needed to impeach.
The Democrats in the Congress feel very, very strongly that President Trump must be held accountable.
If that happens, Trump would be the only president in history to be impeached twice.
Impeachment, I just don't think it serves the interests of the United States in the long run.
Some worry about the fallout of such an act, since it's unclear whether the Senate has the time or the will to convict the president.
I don't know that we need more brinkmanship here in the final 12 days of the Trump administration. I think we need more leadership.
President Trump tweeted that he'll skip Joe Biden's inauguration. But as the president and his team prepare for a potential impeachment, flags at the Capitol fly at half-staff, a reminder of the deadly attack on Congress. We've now learned the name of the U.S. Capitol Police officer who died. Brian Sicknick was 42 years old. In Washington, I'm Whitney Wild reporting.
The man photographed sitting at House Speaker Pelosi's desk and admitted to stealing her mail during the Capitol breach has now been arrested. Richard Barnett, who's from Arkansas, is facing 3 federal charges. The FBI is still looking for dozens more persons of interest. Healthcare officials say they are just beginning to see the Christmas surge of COVID-19 hospitalizations. Scripps Health says they are caring for more than 500 coronavirus patients. That's more than 3 times their June numbers. KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman says officials are preparing for the worst.
We are predicting more coming in. Again, we're not even at the peak yet. Next week, we'll start that curve is what we're predicting. Staff is getting tired, but we are doing all kinds of creative things.
Scripps Health is making negative pressure rooms as quickly as they can. They just added another overflow tent at their Encinitas hospital, which today was operating its ICU at 183% full.
This week, we had 180 new hires. We were hiring EMTs, kind of a novel approach, basically to help to offload the nursing staff.
Scripps officials say staff are volunteering for shifts to relieve pressure in other parts of the hospitals. And while team nursing allows them to do more with less, it doesn't necessarily mean the level of care is going down.
I worry about the care in the sense of people that it used to be in the intensive care unit. Now they're getting care in different areas, medical surgical units or step-down units. There's a comfort level that goes with having a patient in the intensive care unit who's on high-flow oxygen.
In Escondido, this state-controlled field hospital has started accepting low-acuity coronavirus patients. As of Friday, it had 20 staff beds and was holding 13 patients. But hospitals can't just send overflow patients there yet, and officials are having to move patients wherever they can find space.
Transferring internally. So interestingly, now it's busy at Encinitas and Chula Vista. So La Jolla and Green are getting patients from both sides.
Vaccinations for healthcare staff are continuing. Scripps estimates about 70% of its frontline workers have gotten the first dose, and they just started administering second doses this week. But that will take time, and the pandemic is still raging on.
We can get through this. We don't want any more cases that could have been avoided. And the last thing you want to do is be the one responsible for putting somebody in the intensive care unit because you weren't careful.
Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
For the first time since the pandemic began, more than 4,000 Americans died in just one day. Sobering news as cases continue to surge and hospitals are running out of beds and supplies. And as Mary Maloney reports, the vaccine rollout remains behind schedule.
It was the deadliest day of the pandemic in the U.S. 4,085 deaths from the virus were reported Thursday, along with more than 274,000 new cases, the second most on record. The current epicenter of the virus, Los Angeles County in California, the most populous in the country.
It's every 6 seconds now a new case, and every 8 minutes somebody's dying here. But we've seen this across the country, and we've seen it particularly here where we have the densest metropolitan area in America.
Experts warned that things would get worse this winter, but many hoped with the news of the 2 authorized vaccines, things would turn around. But with a flawed and confusing rollout, the country is far behind where it hoped to be by now in terms of doses administered.
There's obviously a huge demand for these vaccines, but people have a hard time understanding where do I go to get it? Where do I stand in line? There hasn't been a lot of communication. The states haven't been equipped to be able to handle this.
Additional funding for vaccine rollout was included in the $900 billion COVID relief package signed last month, something desperately needed to create more infrastructure.
This takes new infrastructure that we're having to build and that we got the dollars to build after we got the initial vaccine. But we're going to get there. No excuses.
I'm Mary Maloney reporting.
President-elect Joe Biden plans to release every available dose of the coronavirus vaccine to speed up the nationwide rollout. The Trump administration has insisted on holding back doses to ensure those who receive the first shot will have access to a second one. Both the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines are about 95% effective after 2 full doses. This week, San Diego County went into the full Phase 1A of COVID-19 vaccinations. That covers all healthcare personnel and the residents and employees of long-term care facilities. As of today, the county says about 60,000 San Diegans have received their first dose, and 2,700 people have received both shots. The Vista Community Clinics began administering their Moderna vaccines on December 29th. More of their employees got their first doses today.
And I know there is some type of side effects that may potentially come, but I feel like it's safe and not only protecting myself, but protecting the community as well.
The next group to be vaccinated in San Diego County will be those from Group 1B, Tier 1. That includes people aged 75 and older and essential workers in the education, childcare, emergency services, and food agriculture sectors. The county's first COVID-19 vaccination superstation is opening on Monday. They're partnering with UC San Diego Health, the City of San Diego, and the Padres to vaccinate at least 5,000 health workers per day. The drive-up clinic will be at the tailgate lot on Imperial Avenue near Petco Park. Health workers must first make an appointment online and present proof of eligibility when they arrive. In the new state budget, California Governor Gavin Newsom is pushing for billions of dollars in COVID-19 relief for schools and businesses. KPBS reporter Joe Hong explains how the world's 5th largest economy hopes to navigate the second year of the pandemic.
At the forefront of Governor Newsom's proposed budget is K-12 education. Newsom today announced unprecedented public school funding, including billions for extended learning. This means more summer school and more before and after school programs to help students recover from the loss of learning during the pandemic.
This year, we want to focus this, again, flexibility, similar to last year, but more emphasis, more focus on extending learning time because of the clear challenges and strife that so many of our families are struggling with the current distance learning model.
The proposed budget also includes a $4.5 billion economic recovery package that includes relief for small businesses, investment in zero emissions vehicles, and a jobs initiative.
We have some immediate action that we hope we can take together in partnership with the legislature legislature. And that's $575 million in small business grants. These are grants, not loans. These go to nonprofits, not just small businesses, and cultural institutions.
Newsom's proposal also includes $300 million for vaccine distribution.
We must do that in order to safely reopen for in-person instruction, our schools, to reopen our small businesses, as well as businesses large and small all across the state of California.
Overall, the state's budget remains balanced thanks to higher than expected income tax revenues, resulting in $34 billion in reserves and a budget surplus. The state legislature has until May to review and revise the governor's proposed budget. Joe Hong, KPBS News.
Georgia's top election official said he intends to certify the results of runoffs that will tip the power balance of the Senate to Democrats by Inauguration Day. Voters are sending Democratic challengers Jon Ossoff and Reverend Raphael Warnock to the Senate. With President-elect Biden's party controlling both chambers of Congress, he can potentially enact legislation and push through cabinet nominations without Republican support. It's something most of us don't think twice about. You put your trash and recyclables in a bin or dumpster, and then that's it. But since the beginning of the pandemic, a lot more trash has been going to the Miramar landfill. KPBS reporter John Carroll explains why that's the case and what we can all do to help.
The Miramar landfill, the end of the line for San Diego's trash, and these days there's more of it.
We noticed the increase in residential refuse and recycling from city residents actually in March.
March 2019, the unofficial beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic. Mid-month, Governor Newsom issued a stay-at-home order. More trash and recyclables started pouring into Miramar.
Our tons were up about 2,000 tons the month of March. It was almost immediate.
But why? Did people all of a sudden start using and then throwing away more stuff? Yes, but Matt Cleary says it's because many of us are at home a lot more than in pre-pandemic times.
People are working at home. Students are learning from home. We attribute the increase in tonnage to just that.
And that brings us to what folks in Cleary's business call the waste stream, and a further explanation of the increase in what the city is collecting. For franchise haulers, companies like Edco and Republic that collect business and commercial trash, it's just the opposite.
I think the franchise haulers are seeing a decrease in commercial tons.
But Cleary says the commercial haulers are seeing an increase in residential waste as well. And all their trash ends up in Miramar, too. So with all that extra trash going into the landfill day in and day out, is there cause for concern? Is the landfill going to fill up in the near future? Not quite.
Eventually, there will be a hard stop. However, that is not within the next 3 or 4 years. And the city is always looking at options to extend the life of the landfill.
For now, Cleary says we can all help in extending the life of the landfill. Think about buying things with as little packaging as possible. Beyond that, make sure you're recycling everything you can.
Ensuring that the proper materials are being recycled so that they're not going into the landfill, I think that would be extremely beneficial to increasing the life of the Miramar landfill.
The Miramar landfill opened in 1959. The date it will close is partly up to all of us, what we buy and how we dispose of it. John Carroll, KPBS News.
San Diego Mayor Todd Gloria is promising a transparent and competitive process as the city decides the future of its electric and gas franchises. He announced several public forums asking for feedback. One way to participate is by speaking at an upcoming virtual meeting of the council's Environment Committee. They are set to meet on January 28th and February 25th. The 50-year deal with San Diego Gas and Electric is due to expire June 1st following a last-minute extension. SDG&E has held exclusive franchises with the city since 1920. 2020 brought a record number of billion-dollar weather and climate disasters to the U.S. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration says there were 22, costing a total of $95 billion. Last year's costliest event was Hurricane Laura. at $19 billion. It was followed by the record-breaking western wildfires across California, Oregon, Washington, and Colorado.
A bit of fog to contend with through the day, but winds, they're changing to a bit of an offshore pattern as we go through the weekend, which means, yes, it will be quiet and mild. However, we will have some locally gusty winds through some of the canyons and mountains, and some of those gusts could be 30 to 40 miles per hour. So things to consider. It's also going to keep the surf a bit rough. High surf advisories here remain along our coastline. These are going to last through the next couple of days, so again, be wary as you head out this weekend if you're headed to some of the beaches. Overnight, we drop into the 30s and 40s, 42 in Escondido for the low. Chula Vista coming in at 48. Really not too bad as we keep things quiet, dry, and pretty much cloud-free for a while. The pattern doesn't really change here through this weekend. So you'll notice Saturday's map here, mild, some sunshine across our area. The cool air and the snow, that's working through Utah, Colorado, and northern New Mexico, far away from us. So that's why we keep with the sunny times. You'll notice a pretty nice day for tomorrow. 59 in Mount Laguna, and we're headed up to 66 in San Diego itself. As we transition into Sunday, again, same story here. Mild conditions, all that cool air as well to the interior of the Southwest, which means our days don't really change too much as we head through the next couple of hours. Saturday, Sunday on the rise, back towards 70 degrees through the afternoon for the end of the weekend, and that's kind of where we'll hold it as we head into the start of next week for the coast. Heading inland, you'll notice those numbers making it to the mid-70s. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, all kind of in the mid-70s. Plenty of sunshine out there and quiet conditions, and the mountains more like the 60s. We go back to the mid-60s for Tuesday and Wednesday. Pretty dry, fairly mild, not a whole lot of change. And then for the deserts, well, we're going to see more sunshine, of course, and temperatures somewhere in the 70s for the afternoon. For KPBS News, I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Melissa Constanzer.
The December jobs report came out today. SDSU's Miro Kopik has the details in the Friday Business Report.
We've seen a big reduction in job growth, and this time actually it hit a brick wall. We lost 140,000 jobs. Unemployment stayed the same at 6.7% because the November numbers actually improved by about 90,000 jobs. Of these 140,000 jobs lost, the big bulk of the jobs that were lost were in hospitality and leisure. Retail added over 120,000 jobs. We know that many of these jobs are temporary jobs for the holidays. And then they will be flushed through in the month of January. The economy lost in 2020 over 9.4 million jobs. That's twice the number of jobs that we lost in the last recession in 2008, 2009, which was about 5 million. So overall, after the next month or two will be a little bumpy. The subsequent 3 to 6 months will be really generally, hopefully positive. And we hope that the unemployment rate might go from 6.7% to something below 5% before the end of the year.
A second round of stimulus payments are going out now. So if you are eligible and haven't gotten any money yet, when can you expect it? Mandy Gaither explains.
The motion to concur is agreed to.
In a sweeping pandemic aid bill passed just before Christmas, Congress approved $600 stimulus payments for each eligible person. The first of those payments started going out on December 29th. You may have seen it pending in your account, but the funds officially became available Monday. The payments will continue to be sent through January 15th. But anyone eligible who isn't automatically sent the money by then will have to claim it on their 2020 tax return, according to the IRS. Paper checks or debit cards will be sent to those who don't already have a bank account on file with the IRS. Checks also began going out last week. People can check the status of both their first and second stimulus payments by using the Internal Revenue Service's Get My Payment Online tool. Some people may not receive the money the same way as in the first round. If you were sent a preloaded debit card last year, the payment will not be added to that card. You'll either receive a new card in the mail or a paper check. For Consumer Watch, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Eligibility is largely based on income. Those earning less than $75,000 a year will get the full $600. It will also go to heads of households earning less than $112,000, $500 are married couples filing jointly earning less than $150,000 a year. They will also receive $600 per child under the age of 17. The pandemic has not left anyone untouched, particularly children in their formative years. I recently spoke to a 6th grader at Francis Parker School, Arden Pala. An actor and author, he is no ordinary 11-year-old. His latest book celebrates the uniqueness of cultures around the world. Here is our interview. Arden, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
So while most kids spend their summer breaks not wanting to do any work, you wrote a 24-page children's book based on your vacations to Turkey, China, and most recently to Mexico. Tell us about the adventures of Noah's flying car.
During COVID, you can't really get out to go to vacation, and so I just wanted to bring the country to you and in a book. And I don't want it to be a history book where it's just facts. I want to bring in characters too to make it a little more fun. At least that's my goal.
And in your books, you explore things like the food and the history of the countries that you visit. And those are all from the eyes of children who are in this flying car. What are some of the adventures that your characters go on?
My newest book, they go to oceans, they see whales, they go to butterfly reserves, they eat tacos and burritos.
We have a good timing because it's migration season, Mrs. Melissa said. Reason whales migrate is to have their babies in the warm Mexican lagoons. They swim 6,000 miles to get here, Caden said. After a few minutes in the flying car, we landed in Todos Santos.
All these places I've been to and I experienced, and this is all from my standpoint of what I remember from it.
Arden, can you tell us what the main message you're hoping that readers are going to receive from these books?
I'm just I want to explain diversity too, because I'm different. I'm Turkish American, and basically it's okay to be different, and it's fine. And basically, yeah, I just want to explain diversity.
This particular book, it raises money for the San Diego COVID-19 Community Response Fund. Why did you decide to donate to this cause?
I just want to. These are very hard times, so I just want to make sure everyone's okay, and I just want to help San Diego a little bit more about donating all the proceeds to this book to the COVID response funds.
You recently were awarded the Best Child Actor by Los Angeles Film Awards. Tell us about this great honor.
So during the summer, I was selected to be in this movie called Taz. I worked really hard for that, and I just enjoyed having the feeling that about getting an award. It felt so good. I had such fun meeting the crew and the cast. It was awesome.
Arden, Paula, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
I'm Judy Woodruff. Tonight on the NewsHour, a Capitol police officer dies from injuries sustained in the violent insurrection inspired by the president. Coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
And here's an update on today's top stories. Senator Lisa Murkowski of Alaska has become the first Republican senator to call for President Trump to resign. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said in a letter to members of her chamber that lawmakers could move as early as next week to impeach Trump if he doesn't immediately resign. President-elect Joe Biden has not endorsed Democrats' call for a second impeachment, saying he's focused on taking the office himself. Twitter has permanently suspended Trump over concern he could incite more violence. Healthcare officials say they are just beginning to see the Christmas surge of hospitalizations. Scripps Health is caring for more than 500 coronavirus patients and is predicting cases to peak next week. Another overflow tent was added to their Encinitas hospital, which is currently operating its ICU at 183% capacity. A $4.5 billion economic recovery package is a major feature of Governor Newsom's state budget proposal. It includes relief for small businesses, investment in zero-emissions vehicles, and a jobs initiative. The state's budget is balanced thanks to higher than expected income tax revenues. The pandemic has been devastating for arts organizations, but if there is a silver lining to be found, it's in the virtual realm where new kinds of community engagement are being fostered.
Like to open up the show with a brand new song. A little tune I like to call my opening song. Because sometime I ain't gonna change the course. And now I'm right back where I used to be before.
You recognize who that is? Well, tomorrow night, Poway Onstage presents award-winning actor and musician Jeff Daniels in concert. Daniels of TV's The Newsroom and the film Dumb and Dumber will be doing a live stream show from his home.
Never been to the Poway Center for the Performing Arts, but I'd be there if I could that night, but you know, we got this thing called the pandemic. So I'm doing the next best thing. I'm doing a live stream. I'm gonna play a lot of songs off my new album, Alive and Well Enough. You can check that out at jeffdaniels.com. And then after the show, I'm gonna do a Q&A.
Since the summer, the Emmy Award-winning actor has performed 60 live stream shows. Attendees will have a chance to submit questions during the performance, and he will answer as many as he can get to. Virtual tickets are $20 per person or $30 for a family ticket. Poway Onstage is hoping people will show their support for the theater company and be honest about how many will be viewing the event. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley. And by the following: and by viewers like you. Thank you.